So this is the humerus. Okay, humerus bone. So being it is a long bone, it has an upper end, a shaft, and a lower end. Okay. So the upper end, we can see there is a hemispherical or half rounded head will be seen, and there are two tubercles, two projections can be seen. One is large projection, that is known as greater tubercle, and there is a small projection, that is known as lesser tubercle. In between the greater tubercle and lesser tubercle, there is a sulcus, that is known as intertubercular sulcus or bicipital groove. And so this forms the upper end of the shaft, upper end of the humerus. Okay. Then there will be a long portion, this is known as shaft, and coming to the lower end of the humerus, we can see it is flattened. Comparing to the upper end, the lower end is flattened. And here we can see in the lower end there are two projections, you can see. So this rounded projection, this is known as capitulum, and this portion, a pulley-shaped projection can be seen, and this is known as trochlea. So there is a rounded projection, capitulum and trochlea, and we can see small depressions at the lower end. Here the depression or small depressions above the capitulum, this portion, this is known as a radial fossa, and above the trochlea, here also we can see there is a small depression, that is known as coronal fossa. Okay, so radial fossa and coronal fossa, and posteriorly here we can see a large fossa, so that is known as olecranon fossa. Okay. So for keeping it in anatomical position, first you have to see the upper end and lower end. Okay. So keep the upper end above and lower end below. Okay. And then we have to look at the lower end. So this olecranon, large olecranon fossa should come posteriorly like this. Okay. Posteriorly, that means our radial fossa and coronal fossa should come anteriorly. Okay. And look at the upper end. Okay. So upper end, we already told there will be a rounded head, hemispherical head is there. So this head should come medially. Head should come medially. Okay. So like this is our anatomical position. So this is the right humerus, and we can see the head is coming towards medially, and it articulates with the scapula, with our scapula. Okay. Then inferiorly, you have to see the olecranon fossa should come posteriorly. Okay. So like this. So it belongs to the right side. Okay. Then keeping in the anatomical position, we can see the features in detail. So in upper end, there will be a head, greater tubercle and lesser tubercle, and there are two neck for the humerus. Okay. So we can see this head is separated from the lesser tubercle and greater tubercle by a neck. So this is known as anatomical neck. And here we can see the upper end is separated from the shaft by another neck, that is known as surgical neck. So there are two neck for the humerus, anatomical neck and a surgical neck. And the surgical neck is related to axillary nerve, and most commonly the fracture of the humerus happens in the surgical neck. Okay. So while there is a fracture, what will happen? It will affect our axillary nerve also. Okay. So that is surgical neck and axillary nerve. So axillary nerve went round the surgical neck of the humerus. Okay. So that is the upper end. So the upper end of the humerus has a hemispherical head which articulates with the scapula to form shoulder joint, and there is a lesser tubercle and there is a greater tubercle. Between these two there will be a sulcus, that is known as intertubercular sulcus or bicipital groove. Okay. And there are two neck, there is an anatomical neck and a surgical neck. Anatomical neck and surgical neck. Okay. So that is the upper end. Okay. And coming to the shaft, so we have to keep it in the anatomical position. So while keeping in the anatomical position, there are three borders and three surfaces for the humerus. Okay. Three borders and three surfaces. Okay. So we here we can see anteriorly there is an anterior border. Anterior border. Okay. And so this is the right side. So here we can see there is a medial border and there is a lateral border. So three borders: anterior border, medial border and a lateral border. So these are the three borders. Then it has three surfaces. So between the anterior border and the medial border there is an anteromedial surface. Between the anterior border and the lateral border there is an anterolateral surface, and between the medial border and the lateral border there is a posterior surface. So three surfaces. So keeping anatomical position, there will be an anteromedial surface, anterolateral surface and a posterior surface. So these are the three surfaces of humerus: anteromedial, anterolateral and posterior surface. Three surfaces. So here, so coming to the details of this, here we can see this anterior border. So it starts from, this is our inditubercular sulcus or bicipital groove. So this anterior border starts from the, here we are keeping it in the anatomical position. So it starts from the lateral lip. So if there is a groove, there are two lips can be seen. So medially there is a medial lip and laterally there is a lateral lip. So groove, so the groove means a depression. So on either side of the groove there will be two projections can be seen. Okay, they are known as lips. Okay. So this is the bicipital groove and there will be a medial lip and a lateral lip for that. Okay. So the anterior border begins from the lateral lip of the bicipital groove and coming downward, and in lower portion it become rounded. Okay, become rounded. So this is the anterior border. Then and coming to the medial border, this is the medial border. So medial border, in the upper part it is rounded and starts from the lesser tubercle actually. Starts from lesser tubercle and coming downward, the lower part of the medial border become prominent and there forms a ridge that is known as medial supracondylar ridge. These are the condyles. Condyles or epicondyles. So above the epicondyle it is known as supracondylar. So medially the medial border forms a medial supracondylar ridge, and the medial border at the lower end it forms a ridge that is known as medial supracondylar ridge. Okay. Same like our medial border, here we can see this is the lateral border. So lateral border, when it coming downward, here also in the lower portion it forms a prominent ridge that is lateral supracondylar ridge. Okay. Then coming to the surfaces, so this is the anteromedial surface. So in the anteromedial surface, in the upper part of the anteromedial surface it is narrow. Okay. It is narrow and mostly it forms the bicipital sulcus. Okay. So, and the middle of this anteromedial surface, here we can see this is our nutrient foramen. Okay. Here we can see an opening, so that is known as nutrient foramen. So this is the nutrient foramen. Okay. So here we can see this directed downward, this one. So the nutrient foramen of the humerus is directed downwards. That means the upper end of the humerus is the growing end. Okay. So this is the nutrient foramen. Okay. So that is the anteromedial surface, and coming to the anterolateral surface. So this is the anterolateral surface here between the anterior border and the lateral border. Okay. So at the middle of the anterolateral surface we can see a V-shaped groove. A V-shaped groove or projection can be seen, that is known as deltoid tuberosity. Okay. Deltoid tuberosity. So you can see it is marked by the pen. Okay. So this projection, so this roughened impression, this is V-shaped impression, that is known as deltoid tuberosity. So deltoid muscle is inserted into the deltoid tuberosity. So deltoid is an important muscle. So we know our intramuscular injections are taken in that muscle. So this deltoid muscle is inserted into this V-shaped deltoid tuberosity. Okay, so this is the deltoid tuberosity. Okay, then that is the anterolateral surface. Okay. So the next surface is posterior surface. So this is the posterior surface. The posterior surface, in the upper part you can see there is an oblique ridge. There is an oblique ridge, and below the oblique ridge we can see there is a spiral groove. This one. So there is a spiral groove which here the greenish tinge you can see. So this is the groove. From our deltoid tuberosity we can see one groove is going upward like this. Okay, and this is known as spiral groove, or is otherwise known as radial groove. So at the posterior surface there is a groove for the radial nerve, so that is known as radial groove. Above the radial groove there is a ridge. There is a ridge for the there will be a ridge for the triceps muscle. Okay, oblique ridge. So there is an oblique ridge. Below the oblique ridge there is a radial groove. Okay, and radial groove and ridge can be seen in the posterior surface. So this is the posterior surface. The lower part of the posterior surface we can see this is the vena laterna fossa. So these are the three borders and three surfaces of the shaft. Okay. So while keeping it in anatomical position, you can see there is an anterior border, there is a medial border, and there is a lateral border. Okay, three surfaces. There is an anterolateral surface, anteromedial surface, and there is a posterior surface. Okay. Then coming to the lower end of the humerus, lower end is flattened when comparing to the upper end. Upper end is rounded, but lower end is flattened. Okay. And the lower end we can see some articulating part and non-articular part. Articular parts and non-articular parts can be seen in the lower end. So the articular parts are here we can see, we already seen this is rounded projection, that is known as capitulum, and there is a pulley shape. Another process can be seen, so this is known as trochlea. This up to this portion, this is the trochlea. Okay. And this trochlea will articulate with the ulna. So like this. Okay. So this is the ulna. So our trochlea articulates with ulna. Okay. And here we can see there is a coronado process. This is the coronado process of ulna. So while flexion, that is bending movement, what will happen, this coronado process will come and lodges inside the coronado fossa, like this, coronado fossa. So it is known as coronado fossa because it lodges the coronado process of the ulna. Okay. So that is the articulation. Okay. So that is trochlea. Okay. And here we can see the trochlea, one medial edge of the trochlea is projected downward than the lateral side. So this is 6 millimeter downward than the lateral side. Okay. And this helps in the formation of carrying angle. So we have seen in our hand. So if we are doing like this in our body, you can see the long head, the axis of the humerus and the axis of the forearm. So the forearm is deviated to laterally when comparing to the arm. Okay. So comparing to the arm, the forearm is deviated laterally, and that angle is known as carrying angle. So it helps in carrying the things without interrupting our body. Okay. So that is the carrying angle. So it is more prominent in females, carrying angle. Okay. So because of this medial thing, okay, this trochlea, it helps in the formation of carrying angle. Okay. And so that is capitulum and trochlea. Okay. And other than this capitulum and trochlea, there are some non-articular features can be seen, that is this fossa. Okay. Above the capitulum, here there is a radial capitulum articulates with the head of the humerus. It's head of the radius, not humerus. So this is our radius. So here we can see there is radius has a a rounded head. Okay, so superior surface of the head articulates with the capital like this. Okay, like this it will go, head of the radius. So the capitulum, above the capitulum we had seen there is a radial fossa. So during reflection movement, this one, this radius will go and lodges inside the radial fossa. So it is known as radial fossa. Okay, so this is the articulation, head of the radius and capitulum. So above the capitulum there is a radial fossa, above the trochlea there is a coronoid fossa. Coronoid fossa. Okay. And posteriorly a large triangular fossa that is known as olecranon fossa. So it lodges, this is the ulna again. So ulna has a process that is known as olecranon process. This is the olecranon process of the ulna. So this olecranon process will articulates with the humerus like this. Okay. So this fossa is known as olecranon fossa because it lodges the olecranon process. Then in addition to these three fossa, here we can see on either side of the humerus, two projections can be seen. So this is the medial end. So there is a medially there is a projection that is known as medial epicondyle. This one, medial epicondyle, and laterally there is lateral epicondyle. So two epicondyles can be seen, medial epicondyle and lateral epicondyle. And this medial epicondyle in the posterior surface, it is related to the ulnar nerve. Ulnar nerve. Okay, so ulnar nerve is related to the medial epicondyle. That means sometimes we can see there will be a tingling effect. If there is anything happen to the medial side of the humerus, we can feel a tingling effect because of this ulnar nerve. Okay, ulnar nerve. So that's why this bone humerus is known as humerus or funny bone because of this tingling effect by the ulnar nerve. Okay. So that is the lower end of the humerus. So in the lower end of the humerus there are articular parts which are capitulum and trochlea, and non-articular parts three fossa: radial fossa, coronoid fossa, olecranon fossa, and two epicondyles, medial epicondyle and lateral epicondyle. So these are the features in the lower end of the humerus. So that's about the external features of the humerus. Then coming to the ossification of the humerus. Ossification means formation of the humerus. So for the formation there will be one primary center and 7 secondary centers for the humerus. The primary center for the shaft appears at the 8th week of intrauterine life, and the secondary centers for the upper end, there will be 3 secondary centers for the upper end, and the one center for the head which forms at first year, one center for the greater tubercle which forms at the second year, and another for the lesser tubercle which appears at the 5th year. And all these centers will fuses and forms a common center at the 6th year, and this upper end will fuses with the shaft at 20th year. Okay. So these three centers will fuses at the 6th year, but this common center, the upper end center, will fuses with the shaft only at the 20th year. Okay. And for the secondary center for the lower end, of the humerus, there will be 4 secondary centers. One center includes the capitulum plus lateral side of the trochlea. So these two appears at the first year, and another center for the medial end of the trochlea appears at the 9th year, and one secondary center for the lateral epicondyle appears at the 12th year. Okay. And all these centers will fuses at the 14th year, and they will fuses with the shaft at 16th year. 16th. And there will be another secondary center for the medial epicondyle which appears at the 4th to 6th year, and this will fuses with the shaft only at the 20th year. 20th year. So at the 20th year, then so commonly what we can say, there will be a primary center for the shaft at the 8th week of intrauterine life, then secondary center for the upper end. Centers for the upper end will fuses with the shaft at 20th year, and the secondary centers in the lower end fuses with the shaft at the 16th year, and the secondary center for the medial epicondyle will fuses with the shaft at 20th year. Okay, so this is how the ossification of the humerus or formation of the humerus. Okay, so these years you have to keep in mind, because while taking the x-rays and all, don't get confused with the fracture. Okay. So that is the ossification of humerus. And then coming to the clinical anatomy, so always there will be a fracture. Okay, fracture. Okay. So the common site of fracture in case of humerus is the surgical neck, then shaft, and the supracondylar area. Okay, so these three are the common areas for the fracture. Okay, and the nerves related to humerus, we already seen. There will be axillary nerve, which is related to the surgical neck of humerus. The axillary nerve is related to the surgical neck of humerus. Then in the spiral groove, okay, the spiral groove, there will be a radial nerve. So there will be radial nerve like this. Radial nerve is crossing the humerus, radial nerve. Okay, and towards the posterior surface of the medial epicondyle, this area is related to ulnar nerve. So three nerves. Okay, surgical neck is related to axillary nerve, then the spiral groove, it is related to radial nerve, and the posterior surface of the medial epicondyle is related to ulnar nerve. So these are the three nerves related to humerus. Okay, so that's all about the humerus. So muscle attachment, main muscle attachment you have to go through.